Hi folks, today we're going to look at a brand new hot off the press phone, which is probably the most innovative phone I've ever seen since the release of the iPhone. Yep, I know that's a very strong statement, but this is a very cool phone. This is the Yotaphone 2. On the face of it, a standard Android smartphone running Android 4.4.3 KitKat. Very ordinary. I mean, nice looking, skinny as you can see, nicely sort of, you can't feel it, but nice weight. Has a 5-inch screen, high definition 1080p screen, and it has 32 gigabytes of storage on board, non-expandable. You can't add a microSD card or anything like that. It has a 2500 milliamp hour battery and Gorilla Glass 3 on it, with 2 gigabytes of RAM, an 8 megapixel rear camera and 2 megapixel front, and it runs a 2.2 gigahertz processor. So far, so ordinary. Well, those of you who know the Yotaphone 1 will probably guess what I'm going to show you next, but this is the thing that makes this stand out, and they've really done a job on this because it comes with 2 separate screens. On the back you have a e-ink, what they call an EPD screen, which is basically just a what do you call it, e-paper screen, and it's fully live. It works, you can scroll it and do all sorts of things, but it's actually minimal power draw. So when you're actually not using it, say if you want to lock it, you just press the button and it's locked. You can't do anything with it, but it's still updating in the background. Oh, I said it shouldn't have done that because I locked it. So let's try that again, make sure that's just not me. Yeah, that's right, I was just pressing it with my finger. And this back screen, they're calling it 2 front screens, is a 4.7 curved e-paper screen, and it's very cool indeed. What makes it cool is not just the fact that it actually exists and it can be used for things like just keeping a tab on clocks and all that kind of stuff, but it's the software that's made this really stand out. The guys at Yotaphone have really thought about the software, and that makes it an amazing tool. Right, so let's just run through what I mean by that. So you'll notice at the front here, there's no on the home screen. You can have as many home screens as you like as typical Android, but there's no clock on here because I don't need one, because I've got that which is permanently on if I want to see what the time is. But the other thing about this EPD, the second screen, or the second front screen, is that you can do things with it just like an ordinary Android phone screen. So if we look at some of the native apps, they call them. Here's chess, for instance. So if I want to play chess, then all I have to do is hit that, continue, and it's mirrored automatically onto the back. I've got to stop pressing these buttons, sorry about that. Let me just continue that. Come on, continue, and there it comes. So, you know, you can play a live game if you want to, so you just select and do, and the game plays against you. I'm probably doing the most famous Russian, what is it, opening gambit in the history of chess, right? So it's a live game. So that, it's only saying, oh, that's pretty cool, you're saying to yourself, I can hear you say, but there's more. So of course you can use this back screen as a full-on book, and so if you want to read, you know, War and Peace without using up your battery life, you can simply just work your way through this, and it is compatible with Kindle, so you can actually read Kindle books on here. I believe, I'm not sure that, because we got a pre-release version, I'm not sure, but I've got a feeling it may be able to do Kindle natively, and that means use the full-blown aspects of this e-ink screen. So what are the other points about this? I'm laboring on this screen because the rest of it is cool, but it's the second screen that most people are going to be interested about in terms of what you can do with it. Well, there are 3 modes you can use with this, the EPD on the back, and they're governed by what's called the Yota Hub, which is the software dashboard which controls everything. So there's Yota Cover, which is basically a screensaver, which you can allocate to your Instagram photos, your Facebook page stuff, your local gallery, image gallery, so you can have all your photographs flashing across there in a sort of a nice secure manner. That's a pretty useful function on its own, and it's mostly designed for security, so that you can keep the back screen locked and all that kind of stuff, and put pin numbers and stuff. The Yota panel, which is what you're seeing at the moment, is basically a set of widgets that you can use and set up and configure to your heart's content. And what I mean by configure, I mean I set up this just a minute ago, and this is really your contacts with their images and stuff. You can add a contact or remove a contact and set the settings. I mean, it's all really fully customizable. You know, I can change this aspect here, which is notifications of emails and messages, and this is weather at the bottom. Now, you know, that's on its own is cool, but there's a bunch of these templates that you can use and tweak. So calendars, you know, different kinds of clocks, music players. So you can have basically a whole range of e-ink separate types of content on the back screen containing what you want to see at any one time. It's up to you to decide how you want to custom tailor it, which is really amazing. You know, you can see somebody who will want to have, I mean, if I use that template there, for instance, you know, who will want to have stock tickers going on in the back, you know, and so this is an RSS widget here, so I can feed RSS news in here from my favorite sites using Feedly, and have that as my back screen permanently on, which is again amazing. So that's really there you go. So you see it's actually configured, ready to go. So there are another two modes you can find on the Yota Hub. I've done panels and cover, sorry, another one modes, and this comes from the front here. You can mirror what's happening on here onto the back. So if you see now, what I'll get is, oh, again, I've pressed the button on the way through, what a muppet. Oh, there you go. So that's actually a full mirror of the front of that screen, and all those apps are accessible. So if I want to play, for instance, Solitaire, oh, it's locked, I'm going to unlock it. I can hit that, and there you go, I'm playing Solitaire. Let me just hit the play button. Again, I'm using it in minimal.
Welcome to the exciting jigsaw world. Just get the piece.
Apart from the adverts, I'm using it in minimal battery mode, of course, because it's just black and white, and it's using the e-ink. E-paper screens, if you don't know, they just flash in the information and then stay static. They don't refresh it. So that's where you get your battery saving from. So once it's in there like this, it's using absolutely, I think it's almost zero battery to stay alive and to keep live. So you don't have to bother about it using battery as you're wandering around, which in itself gives you a whole bunch of really cool options with this screen. So for instance, what they're talking about, I'll take it off that mirror mode, is you can do things like if I go here and see if I can find, forget about that, there's a QR barcode. Now if this is a boarding card, for instance, for an airline, I could hold this down, do that, and it's actually mirrored instantly and permanently onto the back screen. So if I lock that as I'm wandering around, you know, and I'm playing around with the front and doing whatever I want to do, and, you know, having a game or whatever it is, I can at the same time have that boarding card ready for swiping at any time. And you can imagine with maps, the similar sort of situation. If you want to keep a map, a short map which shows where you're trying to get to, or an address, or any kind of information that you would like to use later on, but you don't want, instead of using a notepad, you can just store it to the back screen and then just flash it as you need to. So between those modes, the mirror mode, which gives you full access to all this on the low power. Of course, they say don't bother playing 3D driving games and stuff like that on the back screen, because it will just use the power, because it's still refreshing the screen as normal. It's only really for this kind of static information, or for reading books and all that kind of stuff, where this EPD really comes into its own to save your battery life. Very, very, very cool. I mean, again, there's lots of little nice little touches that they do as part of the native apps environment. So if you press, for instance, the weather module, you'll get this kind of very nice layout for extended weather information, which is great, and again, using minimal battery life. Nice touches. The software is very well thought out. Of course, all of this clever technology, especially the stuff on the back, is designed to not only be more useful and more effective, but of course to help save battery life. In use, we've noticed that yes, you'll definitely get easily a day's use out of it if you don't use 3D gaming and all that kind of stuff consistently. It's the same constraints as every other phone on the market. What this gives you is an added bit of flexibility not to have to use this front screen. So you can, for instance, just keep yourself up to date with a whole heap of stuff, whether it's RSS feeds, news feeds, data, notifications, all that kind of stuff, just by using the back screen. So I suspect the mere fact that you're not always going to the front and turning on this full color screen will help. And they say that it does give you significantly more battery life than you would get out of a standard smartphone. My experience so far is that yes, this is definitely a 1 to 2 day, or 2 day maybe battery life on this, using it just normally as I would normally use it. Oh yeah, just to mention, the back screen is covered by Gorilla Glass 3 as well, so the Gorilla Glass 3 on both the front and the back. They're really committed to these two screens. This is the Antutu score, 38,376 on the first run I had, so it's fast. That 2.2 gigahertz processor screams. Okay, so this is real racing, running it, full res. Look at those lines at the top of the screen. No breakup in those at all. Smooth as butter. The other thing that's worth mentioning, of course, is the fact that this power saving goes through to yet another part of the software. They have something called Yota Energy, and when you click that, it then does this energy mode, which a lot of phones have nowadays to try and conserve energy. But the great thing about Yota Energy is, while it also does that, switches everything else and dims everything else and makes everything very very energy efficient, it's actually a lot more effective than alternative low power modes, primarily because you've got this to use on the back, this EPD. As you can see on the screen itself is very nice. If I run up something like Maps, you'll see that it's a 442 I think DPI screen, so it's very crisp, and again, with that kind of processing power and 2 gigs of RAM, you're going to find a very fast, responsive experience. With the camera, they've also done an excellent implementation. It's a slightly different UI in that they hide everything behind some sort of, the side panels, which makes it a little bit more difficult to change things, such as you've got to slide in from the bottom, and also for the gallery you slide in from the top, as opposed to having the icons readily available. But once you've got used to that, and I get my fingers out of the way, it's actually again a very credible. You'll see the samples on the actual review page. It's a very, very good camera. The interesting thing I like is they give you a smile note on the EPD on the back, so that's what people see when you're taking a photograph of them. I suspect you can probably change that some way. Oh, I think also sometimes it alternates between a pair of eyes looking at you as you're taking the shot. It's a cute effect, isn't it? It's a cute effect. I mean, why not have fun with the technology? So that's a really quick look at the brand new Yotaphone 2. I love it. I've got to say, I love it, love it, love it. It's a great, great phone. I like the fact that it's a real proper phone. It's not a toy. It's not a gimmick. It could be, I mean, I think the Yotaphone 1 was very much a gimmick idea, you know, just stick an e-paper screen on the back and see what happens. But the way they've implemented the software on the new version, it just makes it amazing. It just makes it so useful in so many ways. Everybody I've shown it to so far has gone, wow, that's really cool, you know, and that's before they know all the cool bits like the mirroring and all that kind of stuff, you know. So I just think it's so cool. There you go, the Yotaphone, the Yotaphone 2. As usual, if you've enjoyed this video, please like it and share it and subscribe to our channel so we can bring you more amazing products like this. Thanks very much.